All right, we have 3 types of muscle tissue that we're going to look at, and I think it's pretty straightforward. We'll have 3 slides in lab today, and in our slides, we'll be looking at these 3 different kinds of muscle tissue. One of them, oh, does this look familiar? We've seen it before. We've seen smooth muscle tissue actually a lot, and I would imagine at this stage that you are probably like, oh, show me smooth muscle. I'm cool. I can visualize where that is. I think smooth muscle sometimes is difficult to tell apart from, say, dense regular connective tissue. But if you think about where you are and what you're actually looking at, I think that identifying your smooth muscle won't be painful. So look at this, my friends. Smooth muscle is an involuntary muscle. It's found in the viscera. What is the viscera? It's just your guts. I am not positive, but I envision it encircling tubes. Maybe I should write in circles. And I'm sure that that is not entirely, I'm sure that we find smooth muscle in other places. But for example, we find smooth muscle in blood vessels. We find it in our bronchioles. We find it in our GI tract. So we see it encircling these tubes. Now, it is involuntary. In the digestive tract, in the respiratory system, we're comfortable with the idea that our tubes can actually increase and decrease in diameter. And in the respiratory system, that was bronchodilation or bronchoconstriction, and it happens at the level of the bronchioles to allow more or less air into the lungs. Same thing happens in your blood vessels. Your blood vessels can vasodilate or they can vasoconstrict, and it's smooth muscle surrounding the blood vessels that enables this. Now, if you think about, I'm not sure if this is clear yet, but muscle tissue, all muscle tissue, is organized in such a way that it functions by shortening. If this is my original muscle tissue, if this is the length of a piece of muscle, and then it shortens, okay, you get the idea that as it shortens, it can cause movement. So you can imagine here is a muscle, smooth muscle surrounding a vessel, and as the muscle shortens, can you see that, how my muscle is shortening? The diameter of my tube changes. Now, an interesting thing about muscle physiology is that it can contract, but it cannot relax. Like at a molecular level, muscle cells cannot relax themselves. So they actually need another muscle to pull them into a relaxed position. So visualize this. Are you cool that I'm just going to remove one of my hands, and now I've got a contracted smooth muscle, a circular band of smooth muscle that's contracted and has decreased my diameter. Now, do you remember how we had an outer layer in our vessels? And if the fibers are pointing this way, can you visualize this? So that shortening pulls like that. Can you even, I don't even know if you can visualize what I just did, but I just shortened an outer layer of smooth muscle, and I increased the diameter of my tube. So you can imagine this outer layer shortens, and it increases the diameter. The inner layer shortens, and it decreases the diameter of my tube. This is a mechanism that smooth muscle employs to change the diameter of tubes all over the place in your guts. Fantastic. You've seen it before. We should be good. One thing I want to tell you, and this is not going to make sense until I get a little bit farther, but this muscle, smooth muscle, is unstriated. And look at it. There it is. Smooth muscle cells, we've got one nucleus inside the smooth muscle cell. They're kind of spindly shaped. Sometimes that is revealing, other times it's hard to tell the shape of the cell. Cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is considered also involuntary. However, what do you notice about cardiac muscle? It's striated. And this we'll figure out in a second what those striations are. But cardiac muscle shows those striations, but it is also involuntary, like smooth muscle. And one place we find cardiac muscle, where is it? Yeah, your heart. You find cardiac muscle in your heart. That's it. It's the only place you're going to see it. Skeletal muscle. How would you describe skeletal muscle? Well, skeletal muscle, we're going to look at the structure of it in a little bit more detail because our next 3 labs are all focused on skeletal muscle. We will have a lab on the heart, and so we'll get to spend a lecture on cardiac muscle, but by that time it's toward the end of the semester, and we will have already done the histology of the cardiac muscle tissue. Today, our skeletal muscle is voluntary. I can voluntarily flex that massive bicep. And it is striated. Skeletal muscle, that's where we're going from here on out. We've done smooth. We will do cardiac. Skeletal muscle is the focus for the next chunk. Our skeletal muscle organs, we've got 3 labs on them. We've got 77 of them to learn. And all of them are made of skeletal muscle tissue, which is voluntary striated tissue. Okay, I think, yeah. Let's do this. Let's take a look at the skeletal muscle organ itself and get started.